Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops. Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
For years, we were known as Central Veterinary Associates, and we know that some of you were not exactly thrilled with the services that were provided.
But a new day has arrived. We're changing and will now be known as Premier Veterinary Medical Group.
But it's much more than a name change. It's a new management team, a new attitude, with a new state-of-the-art modern facility in Rockville Centre, New York.
We're going all out to provide the best possible care for your pets. And that includes 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week emergency care from a team of highly trained professional emergency care veterinarians.
So check out the all-new Premier Veterinary Medical Group. We're ready to serve Nassau and Queens counties with compassion, commitment, and the utmost confidence.
And we have immediate openings for overnight emergency vets with great pay and outstanding benefits. Contact us today at premierveterinarymedicalgroup.com/careers.
Here's his number. Call him and set up a tryout. And that's what I did. And went there, tried out, and paid my down payment. And 2 months later, started training.
Wow. And how much does it cost at that point?
At that point, it was $2,400. I put $1,000 down and $75 a week.
Wow.
And it was, you know what though? It was a good deal because the way he worked it was, when your training was done and you would start working matches, instead of getting paid, your $30 to $50 depending on the house, he would just knock that off your tuition.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So when do you meet this guy? Tod is God.
It's funny. The very first independent show I went to was Tri-State Wrestling Alliance Autumn Armageddon 1990, September of 90, and I started wrestling school 2 days later. And Tod ring announced 1 or 2 matches, and I said to myself, "Who the fuck is this guy? They're putting this guy as a ring announcer." And then, lo and behold, I find out that Tod was one of the backers. I find out later. But I didn't actually meet Tod until Joel folded in January of 90. They decided a few weeks later they were going to restart ECW. And I was there. I used to be at every show of Tri-State. And then I was there at every show early on of ECW. And Jimmy Giannetti was the one that kept getting in Todd's ear, because I was part of the Hell Riders tag team at the time. He's like, you got to give them a chance. Give them a chance. Give them a tryout. And Tod, who was, I don't know if he was president or vice president of Variety Club Telethon. Was it Variety Club? I forget what it was. And Todd's going to kill me. I think it was Variety Club. He would do every summer a show for the kids. And he let us try out there. And it was me and my partner, HD Ryder, against Stevie Richards and the Delaware Dynamo. We had our match and, made the grade and started working all the shows from there on out until Eddie got rid of us.
Do you think that Tod in the end, see, we're big fans and friends of Tod in general.
Me and Tod have rekindled our friendship over the last year, and I love it.
Over even recently when I came up to New York and we were at a convention, a wrestling convention, there was this giant long line, and to me it was very symbolic. It was very long. It was the longest line of all the famous names that were there that day, and Mike confirmed that there were some famous people there from
Right.
the business, whether they were Ric Flair, whether they were, the Dudley. We saw the Dudley boys there. We saw, Bobby Lashley. We saw some big names. MJF was there. There was a lot of big names. And the longest line of all was for Paul.
Of course.
Meanwhile, placed in front of the line for Paul, I saw Todd's table. And I feel like I have to ask you this question because to me and Mike, well, I don't know, Mike should, of course, as always speak for himself. But to me, did Todd get screwed in the end? Plain and simple.
Ooh. See, Todd's going to beat my ass now. I have not finished listening to his fucking book that he's been on my ass for 6 months too. So I don't know the honest to God details of how everything went down. If I knew the honest to God details, I could tell you my feelings if he was truly screwed over or not.
Then I'm asking you, how do you personally feel? You have your own opinions
about if he was screwed over.
Yeah.
See, you know what? Again, when I walked away in '96 as a Dudley in ECW, I was very angry and bitter. And what I've done with the wrestling business, when I get angry and bitter toward the business, I turn it off. So I turned it off, and I didn't watch any wrestling for about a year and a half until their pay-per-view. And I was very, very happy and proud.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. Why were you angry and bitter?
Because when I was brought in as a Dudley, I thought I was going to work. And I was not given the opportunity. And as I've been on record saying many, many times, so I came in, what happened was the Dudley gimmick starts, and I just happened to flip on the ECW thing on that Tuesday. It used to be on Tuesdays at 5 or 6, and the Dudleys debut. And I was like looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, I look like these guys. And turned out it was Little Snot, Dudley, Big Dick. Little Snot was in a car accident or something. I don't know. I've never met him, but he was injured and he was out, and they needed a replacement. Steve Richards calls me. He goes, "Hey, we got this new gimmick." It was literally a week later. Calls me up. "Hey, I got this. We got this Dudley gimmick. Have you seen it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think you'd be perfect for it. Are you interested?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Come down to the Philly Airport Marriott. I'll introduce you to Paul, and let's see what happens." I was like, all right. So me and Richards are talking in the lobby, and up comes walking Paul, and he just takes a look at me. He's like, "Oh my God, another fucking Dudley." His exact words. And Richards is like, "This is the guy I was telling you about." He says, "Do you have a tie-dye?" I said, "No." He said, "Get a tie-dye." He's like, "What do you want your gimmick to be?" I said, "I always wanted to be like a gorgeous Jimmy Garvin character." I said, "I want to be Studley Dudley." And he just looks at me and goes, "Not going to work. Not happening. Bring food. Get a tie-dye. You're Chubby Dudley. See you next week." That was it. That was it. I'm like, okay.
So that's what's with the snacks. Okay.
That was it. So I show up next week, and I didn't know. My first night, we worked the Steiners. Dances with Dudley starts the same night. Dances teamed up with Dudley, and they took on the Steiners. And honestly, I was quite thankful because all I kept saying to myself is, please don't let me take a Frankensteiner. Please don't let me take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Next night, I don't even remember what the next night was at the arena. I don't remember what the match was, but I just became part of the sideshow. I was not given chances to work. So then, a couple months later, Bubba comes in, and I've been on record to say this, and when Bubba first came in, I was like, well, shit, he's green as fuck. I can work better than Bubba. And I was like, all right. kept going with it. I'm like, just stick with it. You'll get a chance. Stick with it. You'll get a chance. Then Devon comes in. Same thing. I'm like, yeah. But I saw the big picture. I was like, all right, I can see, because I'm seeing Bubba's getting better. It's not like he was blowing his opportunity. Same thing with Devon. They're both getting fucking better. Meanwhile, I was getting lazier because now I'm just like, well, hey, I just show up and I'm on TV every week. I'm in magazines every month. Getting recognized everywhere I go and signing autographs and all this shit. After the shows, at the hotel and people are buying me drinks. They're asking me if I want drugs, and I'm with all the groupies and everything. I'm like having the time of my life. I'm living a Motley Crue dream. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it. I'm just not going to rock the boat. I'm just going to have fun and go with it. And then things were going. Then the feud with Bubba and Devon was getting hotter and hotter. And then Spike came in. And I was like, okay. Well, this is weird because this dude's 120 pounds. Nice guy. I mean, I think I left after a month of being there with Spike. But one night we were sitting there talking, and he said to me, I said, well, where are you from? He's like, oh, California. And in my head, because I'm also, what a lot of people didn't know, I was promoting shows from 94 through 2002. So I'm like, California? I live 15 minutes down the fucking road, and they're flying this guy in from California. I'm like, something's wrong here. So after a month, I was just like very frustrated. I had things going on in my personal life, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm going out here. I'm getting whacked with chairs, put through tables, getting concussions, and I don't see any end game in sight. And I think also, too, a lot of stuff on the flip side, I think, I did myself my own harm because I only went to Philadelphia area shows, whether it was in PA or like if they did random Delaware shows or if it was, some stuff close by. I never went to the New York shows because I had to make a living. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and Fridays and Saturday nights was my money nights. I had to fucking pay my bills. So I wasn't going to take off my Friday and Saturday and lose to go up to New York and pay all that fucking money and not get paid. And yeah, so that hurt me. And another thing that hurt me was I was very good friends with Dennis Carluzzo.
And what does that have to do with anything?
Oh, there was the whole war of the Carluzzo versus ECW versus NWA, and there was one night because Dennis used to beg me. Hey man, fuck those guys. Come work with me. I'll fucking pay you. I'll put you on every show. I'll let you work. And one night I said, fuck it. I'll go work. And I went and I fucking worked for Dennis. And it was funny because I walked in the dressing room and who's sitting there? Sabu. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, getting paid. He's like, exactly, getting paid. I was like, all right. So, I think that like hurt me too. They knew I did that because it was in the fucking sheets and all.
I got